Okay, welcome to lesson 5.4 in our grade 9 business class, where we're going to look at price and how to perform markup calculations. This is a bit of a retail math section, but I do hope that this little tutorial will help clarify what I'm looking for and how to manipulate the formula that we're going to use. Okay, so first of all, what we're going to be looking up here is markup. Okay, markup is the difference between the cost to buy an item and the selling price. Basically, a business will purchase an item and then resell it for hopefully more money than they bought it for. And the profit, the difference between those two numbers, is what they take home as profit or use to pay their employees. Okay, there are a number of factors to look at, such as cost of supplies, hourly rates, and shipping. How to calculate some of this, though, is where we're going to look now. So usually a company sells something for twice what they pay for, and that is what this keystone markup here is. Okay, so keystone is just straight double. However, it's not always that way, but when I did work at Golf Town, a lot of the apparel would cost $40 for a golf shirt, and then they would mark it up to $79.99, pretty much straight double. And that way, if they had to sell it at clearance at 50% off, they would at least make their money back. Okay, but like I said, we're not always going to use that formula. Sometimes it's different numbers. So what we're going to look at here is this formula right here, which is the markup percentage is equal to the profit divided by the cost times 100. Okay, so that's the important formula for this lesson. We're going to refer to that a couple of times, but now I want to walk through a couple of examples to hopefully help you. At this point, you can pause, rewind, and rewatch it if you need any clarification. All right, so the first example is the easiest one. All right, we're looking at that keystone markup that I just mentioned. Keystone is straight double. So if the item costs you $25, all right, so $25, and we're just going to go keystone markup, so times 2, that is just $50. Okay, obviously, when we spend a little bit more time in my business classes, we will start to play around with the psychology of price. And like I mentioned with my Golf Town example, we may actually post this at $49.99 on the shelf because people love their nines. So we'll come back to that later in a future business class. Okay, but now to actually get into the manipulation of the formula, we are going to look at example number 2 here. Okay, and we're good to go. If you purchased an item for $35 and sold it for $49, what would the markup percentage be? Okay, so we need to do a couple of calculations before we input anything into the numbers here, because we actually don't have the profit given to us. What we have is the cost, because it cost us, or we purchased it for $35, and we're selling it for $49. So what's the profit? Well, it's the difference between those two numbers. Okay, we bought it for 35, we sold it for 49, so our profit is $14. That's the number we need in order to put it into our formula. So equals 14 divided by the cost. We do know that number, which is 35. Okay, and then once we perform that calculation, let's see if this works. Can I pull this up on the screen? Yeah, I'll pull it up right here. So 14 divided by 35 will give us 0.4 or decimal 0.4 or 0.4. But again, we need to multiply by 100 in order to turn it into a percentage. So if we multiply this by 100, we will get our markup percentage is equal to 40%, and that's the final answer. Okay, let me just move this up a bit so I have more room for my next one. This one is a little bit different, and this is where it gets a little bit tricky, but if you are in grade 9 math, which I'm sure you are, and you're able to manipulate some formulas, we're going to have to move some of these numbers around in order for this to work. Okay, so just give me a moment here to prepare. Okay, so the item costs 10, but we put $20 of labor into it. And what labor is means if you like build something, if you are a woodworker and you charge yourself an hourly wage to whittle some of the wood down into your final product, you paid yourself that. But now this item costs 10 plus the $20 of labor that went into it. So our cost is actually $30. Okay, so let's write that down. Equals $30. And again, that was this plus this. Okay. We also know the 60% markup. Okay. So what we can do is we can type in 60% equals X, because we don't know what the profit is yet. Okay. But we do know the cost, which is $30. All right. But we still have this times 100. Okay. Now, in basic math, when we manipulate formulas, whatever we do to one side, we need to do to the other. So we want to isolate x here, okay, right here. So in order to do that, we need to get rid of the divided by 30 and the times 100. So how do you get rid of times 100? Well, you divide by 100, so those cancel out. But we divide by 100 on the other side as well, because whatever we do to one side of the equal sign, we have to do to the other. So now we're left with 60. Sorry, let me just go back here. So 60 divided by 100. 60 divided by 100, obviously, is 0.6. So 0.6 equals x divided by 30. Okay? We still need to do something to isolate x and make it so it's there, but right now we are dividing it by 30. So if we divide this by 30, or multiply by 30, these cancel out, but we're going to multiply by 30 on the other side over here. So now what we have is, here I need to move something here real quick. So now what we're left with is x on one side, but now we have 30 times 0.6. So 0.6 is on my calculator already, times 30. We have 18 is equal to x, and that is not our final number yet. That is what we solved for, was profit. Okay, right? Profit was what we solved for. That was what x was. So if we know that the cost was $30 and our profit was 48, then the final selling price was $30 plus 18 equals 48. And that is your final answer. Oh, let me move me up here. Okay. If you need any support with that, please feel free to ask. If you need to rewind and rewatch. But basically what you need to do is figure out what the most important numbers are. Okay, what is our profit? And what is our cost? And we may not be given that information, so we may need to figure that out first before we advance.